Hey guys, welcome back to the Black and Raw podcast. I am your host Tino because Tom drives by. Now I'm going to repeat that. Here's a podcast that's creating the dialogue and the space for black men to be their most authentic selves. Now my guest today, guys, is I rarely have somebody that's ever younger than me that is on the podcast, so it's very interesting to have Dorian on the podcast because he's somebody that at such a young age of 23 has already achieved so much and is on a journey of growth and self-discovery and really figuring out how he can become a better person. And that is what our conversation is about today, guys. We talk about the 4 books that Dorian has written throughout university and high school, and we also talk about our values and what values we have and where we want to be in the future. Where do we see our lives in the next 10, 15 years? So we talk about loads of interesting stuff on this episode. I know you guys are going to love it. Before we get started, I just wanted to share that I've created a Discord and a WhatsApp for the Black and Raw community to grow this stuff bigger, to be able to communicate with each other and really just build and develop communities where black men are talking to each other and sharing love and sharing inspiration. So that is, I hope you guys really enjoy that and engage with it. I'm going to put the links into the comments down below so you can go and check that out. But I think that's it, guys. I think that's it. So here is my conversation with Dorian S. Withrow. Hi, Dorian. So welcome to the Black and Raw podcast. It's really good to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's brilliant. So I would have given my audience a little snippet of you, but I'd love to just sort of go into it. So you recently graduated, and you'll also be starting a mental health counselling soon. And so I just wanted to know, what was it like sort of studying in the pandemic and, trying to sort of navigate that crazy world that we were in at that point?
Well, yeah, I'll be starting mental health counseling in the fall program. During the pandemic studying, it was a bit of a transition. I had to it became easier in some aspects for some classes and a little harder. I think for me, it was like time management, being in a different setting and having to do my work. I think that was the big thing for me. And being able to sleep and not have to leave, that was kind of that was a big thing too. But it was a good experience, I would say. And I'm an introvert, right? So people may not know that about me, but it's like for me, not having so many human beings around moving and in the classroom when I could go to class, it was like, I don't know, I kind of preferred it. I don't know.
Yeah, you got used to it.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's nice. Yeah, I think it benefited some people more than others, obviously. As you're saying, for you sort of being an introvert and you were able to just sort of get up and do your work, it was quite handy. I think for me, I did my third year got interrupted by COVID, and then my master's was also interrupted by COVID. So for me, I'm quite an extroverted person. So it kind of, like, I missed being in the classroom. I missed sort of talking to lecturers and stuff like that. And for something that, like, because I did my master's in social work and my undergraduate was criminology, psychology. So both subjects where debating and sort of getting ideas from each other was quite useful, was something I wasn't able to get. So, but you work with what you get with, don't you? So you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So so you said you're going to be studying mental health counselling in the fall. So I wanted to know what made you want to sort of do mental health counselling, because that's quite different to what you did in your undergraduate, as far as I'm aware of. So yeah, what made you want to study mental health counselling?
I'm a man of many interests, so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. First and foremost, I think that having interest in multiple areas or very different areas I think that's awesome to have. Some people, I think when going through high school, they're trying to figure out their niche, or while they're in college, they're trying to pinpoint that thing. My thing is explore, right? Maybe not just in the academic scene, in other areas as well, but just explore. So I'd like to get that out the way first. And So yeah, I did study ABEC in undergraduate, animal behavior, ecology, and conservation with a minor in philosophy. Mental health counseling is something that I always took interest in,
Mm,
more so behaviors of why people did what they did. And I think mental health counseling is a way for me to kind of use my talents, what I'm good at, and apply that for others and use that to, build myself as well.
yeah, definitely. I think it is good to sort of have different interests. I think personally for me, I have quite a lot of different interests. But one thing I've always sort of admired about sort of the American college system is that you guys can sort of choose your major and your minors, but like in your first year, you can sort of try different things and figure out, because I feel like there's a lot of pressure um, on kids just in general. But like in a UK term, speaking of the UK, we have to decide we decide our A levels at like age 16, 15, and that sort of sets you up then for your university. So if you don't choose the right A levels, you can't necessarily maybe do the course you want to do at uni. I think it really sort of puts pressure on kids to find out, okay, what do I like? What do I want to do? Like, it's a lot of big questions for someone that hasn't experienced life, like a lot. You're age 16, you haven't really figured out all your interests. Like, if I could go back, I wouldn't have maybe done, because I wanted to be a psychologist at one point. I wanted to be a doctor. And then I just didn't want to do stats anymore. So I was like, yeah, let me pick something different.
I think for a lot of colleges, there's a lot of dropouts and people switching majors so many times because they um, can't pinpoint that thing that they want to do for the rest of their life.
Mm,
Um, and I think partly that has to do with parents pushing kids into places that they're not necessarily ready for. They don't have a good idea of not this 100% idea, but this idea like, okay, I'm confident this is where I want to go. Um, but I think while in college, people should explore different areas of academics and kind of just feel out what they would like or what they're good at, what they prefer, what works for them. Um, for me, I didn't know I liked philosophy and I liked it a ton
yeah.
until I took a class. You know what I mean? And for some people, they learn that that's not their thing.
Mm,
Some people may take um, what digital media arts, like camera work, photography, all that sort of thing. Um, for me, I really liked that when I took it. I had a friend recommend it to me. I didn't know how much I really liked it, and I was pretty good at it.
yeah.
So it's explore. I would say explore.
Yeah. Explore 100%. Yeah. Because I would have knowing now, um, I think an interest in politics came quite a bit late. My sister's doing economics. That's something which sounded really like, whenever she's learning that now, I was like, damn, that sounds interesting. And like I at least watch YouTube channels like Economics Explained and stuff like that. So there's a lot of interests that came further on after doing life. So you just, yeah, I feel like that's something maybe the UK could change a little bit differently, that sort of allows people to explore a bit more and figure out. Because then, I don't know, maybe you'd get more young people doing courses they like, and rather than sticking into a course just because they've like, oh, this is what I should do, or I kind of like this, so let me. And then you're 3 years, you're stuck in it. It's hard to change it then afterwards. Or if you do, you then have to do another year. And so, yeah, I like that exploration. I think it's good to explore. It makes you more well-rounded as well if we're just exploring different things.
Yes, yes.
So, it's very rare that I end up talking to somebody that's younger than me. You're only younger than me by 2 years, but it's very rare. But it's also rare that someone of your age has written 4 books. So I guess, I don't know, how did you manage writing books while also being at uni? Like, what was that sort of experience like?
Um, okay, so I started the book writing process in high school.
Mm,
About the last 2 years, it's kind of become a hobby then, but I got the idea of making it become a book shortly after high school graduation. I met with a mentor. We talked through some things. He helped me kind of pinpoint something I can apply my talents to, what I'm good at, and what I feel like my purpose is. So I did that. I had a chunk of it done, but throughout college, I was on my breaks. I was writing poetry. I added in spoken word, short stories, haikus. I had my aunt do some illustrations. Right. So throughout, I was on my summer breaks and on my winter breaks, so the spring, what have you. I was doing a little bit here and there on the weekends too. When I didn't have classwork, when an idea would pop in my head, I would just write something. So in that way, over time of like the 4 years, I was working it out and kind of applying it, and eventually I was done with my manuscript.
Yeah.
Now I met a person. Her name was Alberta Lampkins. She helped me produce my first book, but she helped me. She produced the first co-authored book, but she helped me produce my first self-published book. So she taught me everything I needed to know. She gave me all the resources and set me on my way to finish up. So I did that. I ran with the knowledge. I finished writing my book by June, shortly after I graduated. And it's funny because my goal was to um, publish a book either by graduation, shortly before, or shortly after.
Yeah.
Right. I had that goal all throughout college. I didn't necessarily know how I was going to get it done, but things work in your favor sometimes without the proper explanation. So
Yeah, definitely.
I'm very fortunate in that respect. And
go on.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, you just mentioned in terms of that you had a coach. So I wanted to know just in terms of like what sort of, how did the coach help you? Like what was maybe quite a highlight of having a coach?
It's having this person that doesn't gatekeep, this person that will help you achieve your goal, would kind of guide you a little bit, but have you do the work also, not just do it for you, And that's very key, because what we lack in terms of getting to our goals sometimes is information. That person was an information resource for me to help me achieve my goal. That person was a resource for obtaining other resources to help supplement the information I had to make sure that book became possible. Right. And our connections are so important. And you gotta treat people well. So whoever we come across in life, you don't know who can help you with what. You don't know what they can do or how they can assist you in some way. When the opportunity is there, take advantage. We talked about Oppenheimer, sometime a few weeks ago, and I went to see the movie. And one of the things that really popped out to me towards the end was, I guess, his antagonist. I forget his name, the person that. So he was trying to.
Robert Downey Jr. played him, isn't it? Yeah, I forgot what the senator's name was, but yeah, I know what you're on about.
He was attempting heavily to reduce his name, slander his character, all sorts. The two people that came through for him, his wife and that assistant guy who I can't remember, but those two people, and you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know who you're about. Yeah, I'm blanking now. I saw the movie twice as well, and I'm blanking.
So the people he treated the worst, the very worst, the only two people he relied on, he knew that he can depend on. Well, the one person he could depend on, but he didn't know about the other guy. He was he needed them, and they came through for him when. So treat people well. You don't know what kind of things can come from these connections. It's important.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. There's that quote. I think I've heard it before. It's just like I think I read it also in Will Smith's book. It was like, treat on your way up. Make sure that you're treating everybody with respect and kindness, because on your way down you might need them. So like, Oppenheimer wasn't necessarily on his way down, but like people were like Robert Downey Jr.'s character was trying to bring him down, and he had to. Those people he was kind to, the people he could rely upon, ended up coming to help him. which is, yeah, a great film. Great film, honestly. Christopher Nolan back at his best. I think Tenet was a bit of a little diversion. I don't think it was the best, but Christopher Nolan can make mistakes. Um, and so you talked about your goal in terms of wanting to either publish a book before you graduate or after you graduate, and having a mentor sort of giving you the information and helping you with that. I think there's a lot in terms of trying to reach your goals and setting goals and what that takes internally to do that. So I just wanted to sort of ask you in terms of like, how do you approach reaching your goals, and like what does it sort of take within you to sort of make sure that you're trying to hit those goals?
Well, yeah. I think the very important thing is producing ideas, right? Mm-hmm. What can you think of that is achievable, doable, something you can work at every day and eventually reach the finish line, right? What that takes is the self-esteem and confidence to even start, to attempt. And Wisdom 45 Advice, on my book, I talk about building self-esteem, the confidence. And I have in my room, I have I would say like a mini monument. So I have my Taekwondo belts. I have a bunch of my medals from school and achievements with Honor Society and all that. So I have all of my achievements somewhere, and I also have my certificates in a case. And from time to time, I look at my certificates in the box, but I walk into my room and I constantly see this wall of things I've accomplished, and that helps me, I guess, subconsciously maintain confidence and self-esteem that I can achieve something more, that I can keep going, that I can add on to this wall of achievements. And I think that's very important, whatever it is. I have it's funny, I have from kindergarten, or no, not kindergarten, it was like elementary school. I can't remember when, but there was a photo of me. I got an award for Creativity King. So I would award for creativity, but it was a Creativity King. And I named the first book after that.
Nice.
That was like, for me, that's like, it says something. So what is this thing within you that people recognize, that people like, that you exuberate, not even within the last few weeks or months or whatever, but since the age of, elementary age, so even if you don't have that many achievements, go get some, right? Go do something, find what you're good at, excel in it, whatever it is, attempt to achieve something. And there you can guide your way into building the confidence and self-esteem and even direction for what you want to do. Right. So I think that's one important point. The other important point is finding motivation to do it. Now, you won't always have motivation, but look around you, look at the people doing well, look at the people doing exceptionally well, and kind of, not imitate that, but that's something to aspire to get near in terms of whatever monetary status or recognition. And it's not solely about that, but it can be something to help you motivate yourself so that you can reach your aspirations. And I think that's also essential. What I think is also key is having focus, right? Cutting the distractions of whether it be technology or friends that are unproductive. It could be the psychedelics, alcohol, it could, whatever it is. Right?
Yeah.
Find focus, get somewhere without distraction, be without distraction, figure it out for yourself on how to achieve that. Some tips I can provide is, set aside time a day to clearly focus on your goal, whether that's research, doing, set aside time and be clear of anybody that can provoke you to sway away from your goal, sway away from working at your goal. And I think that's key.
Yeah, I like everything you said there as well in terms of, as you're saying, motivation and focus and knowing sort of what your goal is and what you can reach. And I think it can be quite hard to start figuring out your goal and what you want to do. I know that I remember I was talking to someone for my podcast, um, and they said I titled the episode as well because I thought it was really great. It was dreams are free, so why think no? Dreams are cheap, or why think free? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting on it now. But the principle was that dream big because dreaming doesn't take anything from you. I think it's a springboard to sort of what you want to do. And I've heard so many other advice in terms of like when you're trying to find what you want to do and trying to find like your goals and stuff like that. Like someone was like, what do you daydream about? Like, what do you sort of think about the most in terms of what you want to do and things like that? And I know for me, I've always dreamt of sort of being able to do talks and being able to host panels and have important discussions and, doing my podcast. And there's things which I definitely want to achieve. Definitely. And so, yeah, it's hard. It's not easy. But nothing good in life comes easy, does it? So those are the things you got to work at and still grind at.
Do you think that you've hit some of those goals? Maybe not directly, maybe in not the way that you thought, but like just a little bit. I'd like to hear from you. Like, do you think that you've kind of hit some of those goals at least, or like even at the podcast, you're talking in front of a wide audience, and I'm over here in the States, you're over in London, and like kind of just fill yourself up with joy really quick. I just want to, how to, because I was thinking about this last night. For me, I'm working on all this stuff and I'm trying out different things. I'm seeing what's working and what's not. I may not be where I want to be. I may thought of that I'd be higher than I would be, but also when I was starting out in this whole thing, it was like I didn't necessarily see where I was going. I didn't have the most like clear vision of like this is where I'd be at right now.
Mm-hmm.
But this was more than what I thought I'd get out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So I think for me, like when I sort of started the podcast and started doing just all the stuff that I'm doing, I sort of had a vision of where I wanted to be, but it wasn't maybe as clear. I think there are things which I've wanted to do, which I haven't sort of started yet, but just in terms of, I think the reach of the podcast, like I have people that now message me and it's like, I want to be on your podcast. I heard about you and stuff like that, or I found your podcast and searched it up. And I always get sort of excited when someone's like, oh, they found my podcast, like someone randomly from the States or someone from a different place. Or even featuring on other people's podcasts. That's something which I sort of didn't start to think about, but which is sort of, I really like going on to other people's podcasts and also discussing things as well. So I've done one, and I've got another two sort of booked in for later on in the month, in the year. So yeah, I don't think I'm where I would have wanted to be just yet in 2 years. But I think one thing which I've sort of internalized with myself is that, listen, you got to keep working hard. You got to work even harder. I think there's another gear I can get into in terms of working much harder at building all of this. And I think with podcasting and getting big and, being number one podcast, number two podcast in culture and things like that, is there things that take time. When I've seen other podcasters, they've been doing it for like 6-7 years before they're getting recognized. Now, do I want to be doing this for 6-7 years before I get recognized? Yeah, actually, yeah, because it's something that I love to do. Like, but I want to figure out ways which I can make money from it, which I can grow it even more. So even now I've changed up my social media feeds. I wasn't really doing well with my social media in terms of being consistent and having a clear vision, but something I had to go to. I went to this podcast conference, and I met these dudes called Social Boom. And when I was there, when I heard them talking, like something just clicked in me, and I was asking them questions, and they really helped me figure out, okay, how do I make my mission of Black and Raw fit on social medias? How can I make sure my social media feeds are aligned with that? So now I'm creating reels, being consistent, trying to figure out, okay, what content can I put out? So everything takes time. I think that's just that's something I've just internalized. Everything takes time. If you're just consistent and you keep working hard, luck will find you. Like, and your hard work will pay off eventually. And I think because I'm young, because I'm only 25, like, there's always sort of a vision of, okay, maybe when I'm like 30 and I've been doing this for a while, and people know my name, I'm consistent out there, I've got a big social media following, like I can then see my life at 30 and I'm, doing this like sort of content creation, doing sort of mentoring with young Black men, and got different programs and stuff like that. So I think it's just sort of my long-term vision. I know where I want to be, I'd say.
Yeah. It's great.
So, bro,
It's great.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask in terms of the topics of your books. So they're not sort of necessarily like, I don't know, like how would you describe them? Because when I was looking at them, as you were talking, you were saying there's sort of poetry, haikus and things like that. So like, where did sort of the inspiration for that come from? And maybe why did you want to focus on sort of that sort of style of writing?
Okay, so the books are all very different in terms of approach, but the information is not necessarily the same. It's different, but it's geared towards personal development, growth, becoming a better person. How can you look at things a different way to subside the anger, subside the sadness? Can you like function well in environments that are necessarily conducive to progress? Right. So the first book, I tailored the avenue of information. I filtered it through poetry, like creative writing, short stories, haikus, spoken word, illustrations. So I wanted to give the information in a creative way, be authentic to myself and tailored towards my talents. So for me, that was my unique way of approaching like a self-help book. Right? Wisdom 45 Advice is more essay based. It's not necessarily a story. It's not geared towards sleep or anything in particular, but it's a bunch of concepts, 45 concepts that can help you become a better person. Like one of them's friendship, motivation, focus, like we talked about, um, you know, taking a class in reflection, right? So it's a series of things that help people kind of mold themselves into perceiving life and themselves a little different and help them to help themselves, right?
Yeah.
It has some illustrations in there from a local artist. I like to add art in there. And it's a bit of a personal thing too. So I add myself into all of these books, and I make the realistic connection between what I say and to myself. So it's not just me spewing things without showing that I actually do them. You know what I mean? Like this is what I talk about, I do, or it comes from a real place. It comes from a genuine thought. Conversations You Need. It's my last book I published in June, and that is to do with self-development as well. I added to conversation-based books, so you say something, I say something, that kind of thing. So it goes down like that. And there are conversations that promote growth in some kind of way. I had a conversation about a daughter and her father recently passed, and how can she think of this differently to kind of deal with loss. I had a conversation about complaining and like the importance of maybe not always displaying that, and how you can be perceived by not complaining and how it can work to your benefit. So there's a series of conversations, not illustrations this time, but it's for somebody who doesn't necessarily want to read. And I connected names that relate to my culture, relate to us. And it would make it a little more realistic for the readers, that for any of us, but also I hope, for people generally as well. So I like to give a variety of approaches to getting information out, but the information is within the same area, the same realm. I think I hope I'm being clear in my explanation, but that's
Yeah, no,
essentially
yeah. Yeah, so you sort of said that your last book in terms of like having conversations in there, which makes it more sort of easier to read because you can then imagine a dialogue in your head. Like you can be like, okay, this person says this and that and that, and maybe you can take more from it. I think just as humans in general, like storytelling is huge. Like it's the way that we've passed down information. It's the way that we've preserved cultures and traditions. And, I really like sort of the approach you've taken. And even sort of having different approaches in terms of one's got poetry and illustrations, one's got more conversational, another one is sort of more traditional sort of a written book. Which I think sort of one is probably making you a much better writer because you're trying different things. You're seeing what works. You're seeing what you like as well. Do you have a favorite book that you wrote? Do you, is there any particular one that you're super, super proud of?
I would say it would be the first one.
How come?
Because the amount of time and effort I put into that, and like just that it actually even happened, right? Like,
yeah.
So it's thought of even being an author. Sometimes it's like I look at it now like, but it's like, how many people get to say that and actually have the book expanded internationally in these stores I once thought I wouldn't be able to get into, but eventually working hard and trying to now getting into these stores that I wasn't able to get into before.
Yeah.
And having book signings that I'll be pursuing in the near future. So for me, it's like that first one was a springboard to realizing that I can do more. And I think the weight of it is, for me anyway, it hits heavy for me. So I I would think the first one would be my favorite.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I guess it was like the first one would sort of prove that, okay, I can be a writer. Like I can actually do this, because I imagine when you're in college writing through these, when you're in high school, like you just didn't know that you could do it until you did it. And then once you did it, it probably then made all the other books a bit more easier to do, because you're like, I've already got one in the bag. I kind of know what I'm doing. Like I can improve on it, but I just know as a basis that I can do it. For me, I guess something similar would be writing my first dissertation. Like when it came to my master's dissertation, one, I was so glad it was like 10,000 words. My second one, because I was like, yo, I did not want to write a 20,000 word one. But because I had done it the first time, I was like, I can do another dissertation. Do I want to? Yeah, it's long, but I got to do it anyway. But because I did the first one and I got a 2-1 in it, so I got a pretty all right grade. I was like, yeah, I can do a second one. Like, so I think that always happens with something new you're trying. Like once you've done it, it just gives you that confidence that you can do it again.
And a pro tip for goals. And when you finally achieve something, you have the blueprint to make things happen. Right. So imaginary world, all the books just disappear. I know how to do it. I can do it again.
Yeah.
Imaginary world, podcast, God forbid, just gone. Everything wiped out. You know what you're doing. You can do it again.
Yeah.
And you can replicate that and make it happen over and over, even within the podcast space. If you got businesses that you want to have advertising on your podcast, it could be a way for income. A lot of people do it, or having people advertise on your podcast. You pay them, you can promote whatever. And yeah, like you can do it again when you know how to achieve it, right? And that achieving it is sometimes the issue, right?
Yeah, it's
So,
hardest part. Yeah.
yeah, but we discussed some ways of getting to that, and hopefully this helps. I hope people get bits of information and kind of like, okay, this it's in this conversation. Just pick it up, you know.
Yeah, just yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also, I guess, also what short form content is for, to sort of nail that down, like for
Yeah.
people to read it, to listen to it. I guess, what was the most challenging thing about writing your books? Like, what did you find hard?
Most challenging thing, it was probably looking over and revising what I had written. It takes a very long time. It's
Mm.
like it's writing it is not the hard part. Putting it together is not the hard part for me anyway. But it's like having to go over your work, and I'm not the sole person. I go to an editor too.
Hmm.
So I have the editor look it over, but then I look over the editor stuff to make sure that it's authentic to me and true to me, and make sure that my voice is still there, but grammatically correct and all that. Um, so that's the other important part. And yeah, I would say that's probably the hardest part.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. And so we've talked a lot in terms about self-development and self-help. And it's such a big industry, the self-help industry. Um, but you said, in terms of for you, that you put yourself into the books quite a bit. So I wanted to know, in terms about you, like, where are you on your self-help journey? Like, where are you on your self-discovery and figuring out who you are, but also how you navigate the world, how you deal with your mental health, how you deal with relationships and friendships, and reaching your goals and stuff.
Oh yeah, constant information, but not about you know. Now I like it. I ain't bashing it, but not about like random animal facts. I need information concerning friendship. I go seek that out through video or reading.
Mm.
If I need it on building motivation, video or reading, everything, right? Particularly, I like to look at philosophy, like ancient philosophy, and some contemporary stuff. But um, so for me, yeah, that's like getting information, filling your head with the things that will help you overcome your challenges. And that's what I occupy a lot of my time with.
Yeah.
And that's what allows me to kind of write from a very genuine place, an authentic place, and also to keep it realistic by applying it to my own real life examples, or maybe just talking generally, but also, being straightforward with the information and not beating around the bush. So for me, that's how I approach my self improvement. You know, just constantly seeking information to overcome my own challenges or ways of thinking that could be negative, and be open to changing your perspective. Be open to changing the way you approach things, your way of thinking on life, relationships, and so on. I'm very open to taking in new information and getting rid of old. Right.
Mm.
I want to be able to like mold again, like shed my skin. I want to be able to improve. So I feel like I can do that by taking in information, applying it, but using it and acting it out as I move through the world.
Yeah, definitely. I sort of agree with you. I agree with you, not even sort of, because that's definitely how I sort of approach self-development and self-journey. Just like, I do love reading. I need to do it more often and put time out for it. But even just listening to audiobooks, like, I listen to quite a few audiobooks and podcasts. And the thing is, as well, there's so much information out there right now. So there's no excuse for being like, oh, I don't know necessarily. I mean, it might be hard to know where you're looking for and what you're looking for, but like, it's very easy just to type in, okay, I'm looking for this. I want help with this. And you can find numerous podcasts, numerous things. Right now, I'm listening to Ryan Holiday's book. I think Courage is the Key or something like that. He takes a lot of Stoic philosophers
And he has a podcast as well. Oh, Courage is Calling, actually, by Ryan Holiday. And, in that book, he talks about sort of, what it takes to be courageous, like how he uses examples of people that are courageous and, Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and just even more modern sort of people as well. So there's so many resources and stuff out there for people to go and absorb and listen to. Just don't listen to the wrong information. Like I think it was before. I know I was talking to someone before about coming onto the podcast, and I said I was listening to something about there's a crisis in masculinity. And they were saying like people like Andrew Tate and stuff like that, and Jordan Peterson, and like it's a shame that the people that are popular right now are like Andrew Tate is just someone who I fundamentally disagree with. I don't even think he's conducive for a conversation about masculinity, to be honest with you. But he's popular. I mean, he's been banned on all the things now, but I think his reach is still quite huge. And there's a lot of young boys that are listening to him. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, oh, he's got all the women, he's got all the cars and stuff like this. And I'm just thinking, yo, bro, like masculinity is, I wouldn't say that's what it's even about, to be honest with you. Like, I think obviously everybody wants to have money and be wealthy and have status and to feel important. But I don't think the way Andrew Tate has not proved that because, man's got court cases like and promoting it. Promoting it. Yeah. How he's promoting it is like, that's not the way you should get it. And if you do, like, hopefully you're someone that is actually contributing to society rather than putting out toxic things out there, toxic masculinity and all of that, blah, 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 blah. But what it puts out is negative, I would say, like even just not treating women correctly. There was a quote he said about, or video, he was like, oh, I can't even talk to my sister. Like, I don't have a good relationship with her. Like, how can you talk to women? Like, and I was just thinking in the car on my way back, I was like, I have a fantastic relationship with my sister. And we can have so many conversations about different things. And I learn a lot from her. She learns a lot from me. And it's like, like that, just the quote of him saying that is just like, no, bro, that's just not the way to go.
I see. Yeah. You got to be careful with what we absorb, materialism and fame is it's always been a hot thing, but I think, I don't know, it's just because it's my time, but it's like, seems to be very, very, very heavily focused upon. And now I somewhat agree that people want to be famous and want to have a lot of wealth. I wouldn't say that's most people, but it's something desirable among a lot of people. And I would say that not holding so dear the objects that you do not own, right? Like these things you'll move on someday. These things may move on before you or after you, but regardless, when you go into the grave, you have nothing,
Yeah, definitely.
And there's no, I'm not sure how to say this, but it's like you being a good person, living a moral life, and being someone that can be relied upon, and being someone that's caring to others and kind to others. That is above what is, having a lot of money, but, being harsh to others, having a lot of status and fame, but not being a good person. And all the time we hear from elders that they regret it. I mean, the way they treated women or other people, the way they misused their cash, the way they listen to the elders. Like, they're very important. And I talk about this in my book as well. It's like listen to the elders. They are the people that have maybe obtained what you're trying to. They have been the people that have lost what you're maybe trying to obtain and have done or have done what you are possibly going to do or trying avoid to do or all that. And like listen to your elders, right? Whoever that may be, whether on video or in book, it's these people that lived a long life and have seen things and they have these realizations that some things are more important than others and some things that we want just maybe aren't all that when we finally get it or um like is it really worth chasing after, not
Yeah.
saying don't pursue it, not saying don't pursue status or wealth, but let's take some caution and learn from people that have gone through these things and you know yeah, so that's it's kind of my advice to combat some of that mess happening these days.
Yeah, I think for our generation, I think maybe why it's more prominent is because I feel like there's more ways now to become rich and famous. Like I feel like maybe for our parents, and even before, there was no YouTube stars, there was no KSI, there was no Logan Paul. Like you couldn't become famous off posting videos on YouTube and there's no podcast celebrities. I think there's so many ways now in which you can sort of become big and get fame and stuff like that as before, where maybe you had to be an actor or an athlete and I think those things were always coveted, but much harder to do. And not like being a YouTuber isn't hard at all. There's loads of work that goes into it. Even me, I'm starting to post more videos and reels and content. I'm like, bro, this content struck. Yeah, coming up with content, doing it, recording it, all of this and that. Like, it's not easy. But I think there's just a lot more ways now for people to become wealthy. And I agree with you in terms of listening to your elders. Like, that's also one reason why I really wanted to do this podcast, because I really wanted to get advice from older men, from the elders, because like you said, they've been through it, they know what to do. But then also, if we've got them telling their stories, then younger folk that are in similar positions as they were or can relate to them, they can be like, oh, that's how they did it. I might do it a little different, but at least I know the lessons from what they've done.
Yeah, I have a speak. I think part of like the whole fame thing is like it's such a sought after, desirable thing, especially because of social media. I believe in with the younger ones. And I remember I did a little class session or workshop for my high school. It was a writing workshop, and uh, I was displaying this stuff to show like it's partly because I was proud, but partly because it's just to show that like this is also achievable and like the importance of writing and all this.
Yeah.
One of the students was like, "Are you famous?" And I'm like, "Well, I wouldn't say so. If you did a Google search, maybe, but I mean, I'm not. That's not really. It's not really my focus. That's not what I hold very dear to me. If I can help people and obtain some income and expand my reach, and I'm grateful for you. Allowing this opportunity and working with me.
Yeah.
And so that's a it's my last little input for that part.
Yeah, definitely. So I recently was listening to a podcast that you were on, and you guys were talking about Muhammad Ali, and him being a Black figure. And I wanted to know, in terms of what other Black figures are out there that you look up to and gain inspiration from.
I would say these days, of course, there are the ones that I want to put this out there first. There are the ones that are elders in terms of like Nat Turner, Martin Luther, Du Bois,
Malcolm X, yeah,
Farrakhan, and Elijah. These days, I would say Cornel West. He's he's interesting. And I would say Dr. Umar. I would say I follow some of those voices, not to a T. I listen to their ideas, take some, leave some, but I also seek how I can look at things differently to produce information so that I can help others as well.
Yeah.
Right. Not regurgitating, but giving my own genuine thought applied to my real life experience. So, yeah, Muhammad Ali, we talked about the 6 core principles that he lives by. And we have that in ITF Taekwondo too. So I think martial arts have their general like principles that they go by, but it's I think the important thing to take away from that is like what do you live by in particular? You know. So for ITF Taekwondo we have integrity, perseverance, self-control, indomitable spirit, um, justice, I think, something like that. I might have missed one or added another.
That's cool.
But it's so I also talk about this in my book, Wisdom 45 Advice. Like what are these principles that you apply to yourself? Not only apply, but act out. It's not enough to have the information here, but how do you live through that day to day? You can is it indomitable spirit? Are you in some way, shape, or form throughout your day persevering regardless of the adversity, regardless of the doubt, regardless of the, discouragement? How can you act that up? So find your 6 core principles, find your tenets to live by, and do best to live by that. And I think you'll build that foundation for becoming a better person and feeling better about yourself just because you are telling yourself the truth, but also acting out that truth and building your own honest version of yourself.
Yeah. No, I like that. Like having sort of a base principles for yourself and how you navigate your life. I think is good. I've never sort of thought about, I don't think I've ever directly thought about sort of my principles and what I sort of follow by, but like sort of thinking about it now, like I think integrity is definitely one. I got an award at school when I was younger. We had principles of like integrity. I can't remember all the other ones, but I won the integrity award for a year. I didn't think I had that much integrity when I was younger, but maybe I did. But even just, I think for me, just being a kind person, being a person you can rely upon. I think one thing which I've been told by my friends is that I'm quite a reliable person. And that's something which,
it displays integrity.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, true.
It's what people recognize, man. It's what people see in you that you don't necessarily see all the time, or you may not think. And sometimes, even relating to myself, we may not be the most integral person behind closed doors or when nobody's watching or in our interactions, but if we can get as close to 100% as possible, then we're onto something, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And if people are saying that about you, then that says something about your character and about you in particular. So we can look for those things too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, yeah, I think those are maybe some of the things that I would say that I live by. And I think after this, I definitely might sort of write down what I want to live by and start figuring that out. And yeah,
5 or 6 tenets, core principles.
Yeah, definitely. And so we talked about earlier in the episode, we talked about our goals and what we want to achieve and stuff like that. And you're already excelling at quite a young age. So I wanted to know, in terms of for you, like, where do you see yourself in maybe like 10, 15 years? Like, what are your goals and your aspirations for your future?
More books, some property, some more money. Hopefully I'll be done with school. And I would say, I don't mean done with school in a bad way, but finished my master's and that's kind of done. And then, I still want to continue learning. That's something my great grandmother always pushed for me, to do, to always learn, never stop learning. Um, and, I want to travel a bit more. I've been to a few cities here, but I would like to make a broad reach a little bit too.
Come over to the UK. Weather's not nice, but
when's a good time to come there?
I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. I would say summer.
Gotta be a good time of year. I don't know.
Listen, when it's nice, when the weather's nice here, it's nice. Like, I mean, I think that's just for generally. But you know what I would say? Like, if you want you can come in summer and you can maybe see if you can get some heat. But Christmas time in the UK is really nice because it's nice and cold. There's Christmas markets that are going on. It's quite sort of homely. There's like fireplaces in like restaurants and pubs. It's quite a nice cozy vibe. And then if it snows, then it's just even nicer because it looks good. London at Christmas is really nice, I will say.
I gotta stop you there. Now I'm a northerner over here. You said nice and cold. A lot of us want to escape. Why nice and cold? For my own sanity, you prefer the cold? Is that?
So that's why I can't recommend summer in England because you never know what you're gonna get. Like yesterday, the weather was really nice. Wednesday, the weather was really nice. It was 26 degrees. But then Saturday, it rained all day. Today, it wasn't even supposed to rain, but now it's cloudy and raining. So that's what I mean. I can't recommend you to come to England in the summer because it's so
26 degrees.
Yeah, I mean it's not much, but for England, I'll take it.
Man. No, because a low for us here is where in the city I'm in, at least. It's probably like a low is maybe like 60, 50 if we're like it's getting a little iffy, but 60 is probably a low right now. 50, 60 is a low. 26? Oh my goodness. During the summer? Wow. I can't. I don't know. Summer's my best bet. I don't know. I don't want to feel like I don't know what winter offers.
Yeah, summer's your best bet. To be fair, Europe's on fire right now. So if you want to go somewhere which is scorching hot, then you can check out Europe. Europe is really nice as well, to be fair. So but yeah, no,
like stars and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, Greece is on fire currently, which I mean, it's quite sad. Global warming and all of that, but it is what it is, unfortunately. But you can still enjoy some nice weather. So before we end this conversation, I just wanted to ask you one final question. And is that, say if there's a young boy listening to this conversation, a young Black boy, how can something that help them with an understanding of themselves?
I would say don't run away from yourself. Examine yourself constantly in your behaviors, in your thoughts, in your actions towards others, the way you think about life. Is it positive? Is it productive? Will it get you to become a better person? Will it help you gain more income? Will it help you foster better friendships? Will it help you foster or obtain a better well-being mentally and physically? And explore, engage in different things. Try martial arts, try gymnastics, try singing, music, try any type of instrument, try speaking engagements, try learning some new skill, try something like computer gaming. Just try something that you like. Try something that you've always thought about doing. It could be skydiving. If you don't have the income right now to do such a thing, try something else until you can. Just put yourself in different avenues and different spaces to explore. And while you're in these different spaces and exploring, you can obtain a sense of self through that as well. Like you'll learn whether you have grit to persevere. You'll learn whether you are truly integral. Or are you honest? You'll learn that are you as kind as you possibly can be? Are you displaying, a smile when you're greeting people? As you're exploring different things, you can learn a lot about yourself, but you gotta examine yourself as you're going through it and really like learn, take the initiative to learn yourself. I think that's my advice for now. No,
brilliant. Yeah, I like that. So thank you, Dorian, for coming on to the Black and Raw podcast. This is our second attempt and it went so much better. So I'm glad we definitely did it. So yeah, thank you for coming on. And I hope you enjoy your day.
You too, I appreciate it.
Bro.
Hey guys, so that is the end of the episode. I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed talking to Dorian, and I think everything he was talking about was really interesting. And like I said, it's great to see someone younger than me that is thriving and wanting to achieve great things. So that is the end of the episode. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Please tell me what you think about it in the comment section, and like and subscribe, guys, and we'll talk soon.